think we're ready. Okay, everybody. Good evening, everybody. And I did send. We sent out when we information about the class, and I put on Facebook, and I actually just added it to the chat. You can just this. I'm not going to go very deep into this Jewish law, what we're going to learn today, but I think it's a great article. What I in the chat, I left a link. You should, if you have the capability, you should click on it. You should download it and print it and read it, because it's something that will give you an explanation of a mitzvah that is of a Jewish law that's mentioned in this week's Parsha. And
there's nothing. Excuse me. There's nothing in the chat.
I didn't leave from me to everyone.
I don't know.
I see it in the chat. Did you click the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rebbe, I don't see it in the chat either.
So how come I see it? Say something in the chat. Chat something, and I'll answer. How come? Why is it? I did it again. Does it come?
Now
yet?
it's there. Now it's there.
Okay. I don't know why. It didn't come here before. Okay. Yes. This is a you have it already, so good. But those that don't have it, it's a great article. It gives you you have to read it slowly. It's not it's a very deep concept, and I just think you should learn about this concept, and it's very practical. This is an actual halachic concept, and I think something that happened in England, and the rabbi, the dayan in England, the dayan over there is Rabbi, what's his name? Just to say his name, I'll come up with his name in a moment. Dayan. Okay, I know it slips my mind whenever you ask a question. Slips my mind. And you should read it. You'll see the name over there. You'll see his name in the article. So, okay, let's start the class. I hope you have the book. If you don't have the book, you'll follow with me. And I'm going to introduce you to the first part of the first text is, everybody can find it. It's in your Chumash. If you don't have the book, it's in the Chumash. Exodus 16, chapter 16, verse 28 and 29. So it's in your student book on page 49, text number 1. So here we have a very interesting part of the Torah, which is the concept of the man. The man was bread that fell down from heaven. There's a movie called Meatballs and Potatoes, but this is the bread that fell down from heaven. It was like some kind of a seed or a flower. It was coriander seed to many, and this is something that what the Jews ate in the desert for 40 years, and it started off as soon as the Jewish people came into the desert. Because right after the crossing of the sea, they right away started complaining, where's the food? And God said, okay, I'm going to give you man. I'm going to drop man from the heaven. I'm going to drop this man, and the man will fall every single day. The man will drop every single day. And that was something the Jews didn't like, because everybody likes to have food for tomorrow, ready for today, and today for tomorrow. But God said that's the way it's going to be. Every day you're going to go out and collect the man, and the beauty of the man was that it tasted any one of the tastes you wanted to have it had that taste. So if you wanted chicken, it tastes like chicken. If you wanted steak, it tasted like steak. Whatever you wanted, fish, tasted any. It was a wonderful product from heaven. Came down from heaven. Well, it came the first Friday of that, the first Friday in the desert. And God tells Moses, listen, tomorrow is Shabbos. And on Shabbos, you're not allowed to, I'm not going to send man down on Shabbos. And since I'm not going to send man down on Shabbos, the Jewish people, I'm going to give them on Friday a double portion. And so they'll have double. They'll have for the Friday and for the Shabbos. And that's why, one of the reasons why we use 2 loaves of bread on Friday night, which is symbolic to the 2, it's called Lechem Mishnah. It's called in Hebrew Lechem Mishnah, double bread. And we use those 2 loaves of bread, which is symbolic the way that God gave 2 loaves of bread, 2 amounts of man per person on Friday. And that's what happened. The first Friday fell from heaven to every person the capability of 2 amounts of man for them for Friday and for Shabbos. Now, I'm not going to tell you the end of the story because there were those Jews who went out, the Torah tells us, they went out and they wanted to see if any man fell on Shabbos. Moshe got angry, like, if I told you it's not going to fall on Shabbos, why would you even have a thought to go out and see? Whatever. Let's go to the verse, text number 1, chapter 16, verse 28 and 29. This is where God's response with the Jewish people. There were certain Jews who went out and to find the bread on Shabbos. They wanted to see maybe the man did fall on Shabbos. Maybe Moshe is tricking them, and they're actually going to have more food. So God said, "How long will you refuse to observe my commandments and my teaching?" What was wrong with them going out? Verse number, the second verse. See, God has given you the Shabbos. Therefore, on the 6th day, He is giving you bread for 2 days. And then He says, Shuvu ish tachtav, let each man remain in his place. Al yetze ish mekaymai. No one should leave their place. Don't go out and look for food. Don't go out of your place on the 7th day. That is the pasuk in the Torah. You're not allowed to. God says to the Jews, "What are you going out?" There were those who went out. What are you going out and looking for the man that might have fell from heaven? I said that you're not going to have it. There's not going to be a man that's going to fall from heaven. So that was God responding. He was hoping that the next Shabbos, the Jewish people would not go out to look for the man because they would trust in God that there was not going to be man. That's the pasuk in the Torah. That's a verse in the Torah. From here we learn, our sages tell us, from here we learn an unbelievable Jewish law. A law which is a rabbinical law. And there's an argument, you'll see in a moment, if it's a rabbinical or a Torah law. But from here we learn a law which is called Tchum Shabbos. So it's in text number 2a. You have the Mishnah Torah that Rambam writes, no man shall leave his place on the 7th day. The term place refers to a tchum, which is the meaning of a range. A Jew is not allowed to leave a certain area on Shabbos. He's not allowed to walk a certain distance out of his city, or let's say he's living in the middle of a big farm himself on this one house. He's not allowed to leave. He's not allowed to walk a certain distance away from his home. So whether he's living in his own home or whether he's living in a city, so he's not allowed to leave the city boundaries a certain distance of the city. It's called Tchum Shabbos. It's the boundary of the city. And this is one of the obligations on Shabbos, the prohibitions on Shabbos. Walking out of your distance, a certain, we'll get to in a moment, the distance, which we may not venture out on Shabbos. What is the distance? What is the distance? So you look in text number 2b. Over there, Maimonides continues on page 50. The Torah did not explicitly, if you don't have the book, listen in. The Torah did not explicitly state the extent of this range. What is the distance I'm not allowed to walk on Shabbos? The sage, however, transmitted a tradition that the range extends to 12 mil beyond the city. 12 mil. 12 mil is around 7 miles. So the Torah prohibits, so that's the extent, 12 mil. That means if you can walk 7 miles beyond the city, then you're not allowed to walk. And where did they come up with this number? A measure that corresponds to the size of the Jewish camp in the desert. The Gemara, the sages figure out how big was a Jewish camp in the desert. The Jewish camp in the desert was like 4 boxes. Box to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west. In the middle was the camp of the tabernacle and the Levites and the priests. So it was like there's 4 boxes, and if you made a box around the 4 boxes, because the boxes ultimately became a triangle, if you made a box, it would be around 7 miles. It would be a concept of 12 mil, which is around 7 miles. Thus Mozart instructed, do not go beyond the camp. Do not go out of the camp of the Jewish people, which is 7 miles. But then our sages further reduced the range from 12 miles and ruled that a person may not venture 2,000 amma beyond the city. So then the sages went and they shortened the amount, the distance. And they went from 7 miles to 2,000 amma. 2,000 amma is around 3,158 feet. Around, because the question is how much is an amma? That's a Torah dimension, an amma. So an amma is either between an amma could be a foot either between 12 and 18 inches. It fluctuates. So we're going to the middle, around 15 inches is an amma. So if 2,000 ammas is like 960 meters, which is around 3,158 feet. They chose this range because of the size of the pasture land that the Torah allocates to all the cities, that the Torah says to the Levites, when the Jewish people gave a city to the Levites, that they should live in Israel, they needed to give them the city and 2,000 ammas around the city. That's called a tchum, a range, a boundary. So in essence, the Torah says, so the Rambam Maimonides says, it's a Torah obligation. The rabbis gave the Torah says you're not allowed to go a distance away from your home. The rabbis gave it 2,000 ammas, 3,000 feet. Now, my friends, this is a very difficult law in the laws of Shabbos. It's a rabbinical law. Well, according to the Rambam, it's a Torah law, but the distance is a rabbinical law. But actually, okay, let's continue. Before we get to, I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to show you the picture of this article and another picture. I'll give you a little bit. Again, I'm not going to go into the laws of Tchumim. It's very difficult laws. So look at page number 51, text number 2c. It follows that a person may walk freely throughout the city. Let's say you live in Boca. So you could, Boca's more than that. Boca's 10 miles by 10 miles. You can walk in Boca 10 miles by 10 miles. Actually, you can walk from Boca. Boca goes into Coconut Creek, and Coconut Creek goes into Parkland, and Parkland goes into Coral Springs. You can walk. The problem would be when there's a field, there's like a separation from the city and from the house to the next house. There's a big empty land. That's when you got a problem. So in the city, the Maimonides says, throughout, even if it's large as Nineveh, which is a very big city, millions of people, irrespective of whatever, it's surrounded by a wall. In addition, we may walk 2,000 amma in any direction beyond the city limits. Okay, I'm going to show you a picture, so you'll get a little bit of what I'm trying to tell you. Again, if you read that article, it'll be even better. But look at this picture. Can you see it? So here you have a picture, and this is Group A is your city, your group of homes. So let's say your group of homes is in Group 1. So you're allowed to walk 2,000 amas to the red of that side, to the west 2,000 amas, and 2,000 amas to the south. Now what would happen if they built another little group of city 250 feet away from your end of the eastern house of your group of houses? It's only 250 feet. So now your boundary has now gone bigger, because since it's 250 feet, you're gonna start counting now from that homes. So now it's the black boundary. See, the 250 allows the two cities to be enjoyed together as one large area. So now you're allowed to walk even further east. So before group, so in essence, this picture is showing you, before group 2 came, let's say there was nothing there, then the red box would be your boundary. Now that the group B moved in, they built houses 250 feet away from your group of homes. Now you have extended your boundary, because that city, that little city of 6 houses, whatever, is going to become connected to your city. So this is basically Tchum Shabbos, the Tchum of the boundary on Shabbos, which is, again, a rabbinical law. You can unmute yourself. It's very hard to look at the chat while I'm giving the class. If you have a question, unmute yourself. Because they went out of the camp, they went out. The man fell on the outskirts of their homes. So they went out of their camp. And you're not to leave the camp. That was the point. It didn't rain man on their houses. It rained on the outskirts, out of the camp of the Jewish people. So there it rained the man, and they would carry it into their camp. So they went out of the camp of their tents, of their camp. They left the city. And that is leaving, that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. Are you with me? So for example, the picture you're going to see, the picture that you're going to see in this article is this picture. Okay? So this is an actual story. And again, I don't want to go into the law because it's just too difficult. Okay? So this is a true story, a story that actually happened. You have the parents' home in the city of Bournemwood, and you had the children's home in Edgware. And there was a big lot in between. There's a big empty outdoor center. This is all farmland. So there was a problem of the kids or the parents going to each other on Shabbos. His name is Dayan Raskin. Now the name came to me. So he wrote this article, explained to them exactly what to do to be able to walk. To be able to walk from their home in Edgware to their parents' home, or the other way around, the parents to be able to come to their children on Shabbos. So the rabbis came up with a way to extend the boundary without having another city. To be able to extend the boundary, they came up with a Erev Tchumim. And Erev Tchumim is where I take some food, the value of a meal, food, actual food, and I put it near the boundary, and now that extends it another 2,000 feet. So when I put on Erev Shabbos this food out, like you see in this picture, it says the Erev loaf, put it right over here. You see that, the Erev loaf? So they would put a loaf of bread in a jar in a certain place before Shabbos. And now, you see the red dot is the boundary, the northern line of Edgware. That's the red dot, his northern boundary. The southern boundary of Birmingham. So now, it gave the parents the capability to go another 2,000 feet from the loaf. And that's how the parents had the capability to walk from their home in Birmingham to their children in Edgware. Now, as you see, this is a very complicated thing. You need that's why I advise you to download this article, read it very carefully. It's written very nicely, and it will explain to you this law, this Jewish law of Tchum Shabbos. It's again, to most sages, it's a total rabbinical law. To the Rambam, it's a Torah law, but to most commentators, this is a rabbinical law. Did you get a little bit? Just pick your finger up or finger down. Yes, you have a question? Yeah, you have to unmute yourself.
I got it, and I have the article. Thank you.
Okay, good. The best thing is to read the article, because this class is not about the technicals of the laws. That's not this class about. This is the spiritual concept of the law. It's not the technicality. So it's a very technical law. As you'll read this article, it's a very technical issue, this box, because you'll read the article, understand why there's a red box over here. There's a red circle and there's a red box, because that's also very important to this law. Because we make it a box. We go from each corner, we create this box, simply a box. And we can actually move the box any way we want to move it. Very technical law.
Rabbi, you said you put it in a jar, because I live in we have a country house in the Catskills. Yes. So we do this because we're not sure, but if you put something out, let's say, how do you know that someone's either not going to take it or that some animal will get it?
Well, that's why I say you put it in, you're going to make sure to put it in a vessel that's not going to be attacked by animals. You're not going to put it in a plastic bag. You're going to put it something and you'll hide it. You have to hide it.
I see.
And there was a picture I showed. I had another picture where in Israel, they actually picture Tchum Shabbos. They created this Tchum Shabbos and people didn't touch the food. This became the Tchum Shabbos, and you put your food there and you didn't touch it on Shabbos. You're right. If somebody takes it, there's other issues. So you have to put it in a place where it's hidden. Nobody's going to come and take it away. Yeah, in the country, it's a problem. If you live in the country and you want to take a Shabbos stroll in the country, you got a problem. If you live in a house in the middle of a mountain and you just want to take a walk on Shabbos. You basically, according to Jewish law, are allowed to walk 3,000 feet from your house, from the door of your house. Unless there's other houses in that area, at least 70 feet in the vicinity, then you can go 3,000 feet from the last house. But if not, you're in a house alone, you have 3,000 feet from your house. Now, in Jewish law, we have two laws of Eruvin. You guys got this picture? I'm going to leave the picture now. I can come back to it. So you have, for example, the law of a public domain and a private domain. That's also a rabbinical law, a public domain and a private domain. You're not allowed to carry from a public domain to a private domain. And you're not allowed to carry. That's why we have an native. That's why in many cities they make a native. What does the native do? They make a city in the city, like in West Boca, we have a big native. And that makes it all a private domain. And now you can carry in this, even on Lions Road, you can carry because there's a native. Why? Because we made, in essence, this wherever the native is, we've made it into a private domain. That's also another concept in Eruvin. Trust me, this is extremely very difficult laws. You need to have a very special rabbi that comes and checks the native. Example, over here, we have somebody that checks the native every week to make sure that everything is kosher, that people can carry in the native area that is designated for this area. Now, both of these laws, the Tchum Shabbos, walking out of the Tchum and an native, is rabbinical laws. And in general, rabbis only made laws concerning, the rabbis made a law to protect the Shabbos. They made a law to protect the Shabbos. So, for example, the law of muktzah is a rabbinical law. You're not like a hammer. A hammer is muktzah on Shabbos. What's muktzah about a hammer on Shabbos? Why? Because the hammer you might knock a nail in the wall. That's the Torah prohibition. Torah prohibition is knocking a nail in the wall. Well, you're not allowed to fix on Shabbos, a Torah prohibition to fix it. So the rabbi said the hammer is muktzah. Why? Because they didn't want you to touch the hammer, because you might take the hammer and knock a nail into the wall. So that makes sense. The rabbis made a prohibition of touching a hammer, even though Torah law you can touch a hammer. The rabbis made a prohibition of touching a hammer because you might do a Torah prohibition, which is knocking the nail in the wall. But what does Tchum Shabbos protect us? What does this whole law about this domains have to do with the laws of Shabbos? What does it protect us? For the 39 prohibitions of Shabbos, does nothing to do. Really has nothing to do with cooking and baking and cutting and working. It has to do with work. I want to take a leisure walk on Shabbos. I want to walk. I like to jog. Why am I not allowed to? Why can't I? Why did the rabbis come up with this law? Why did they prohibit a Jew from walking? He lives in the country and he wants to walk. 3,000 feet is not a lot. He's a 5-mile walker every day. So why can't he walk? Why would the rabbis come up with this law? Why would the rabbis come up with a law that he wants to make everything a private domain? It's also a question. What would be the point in that? That's really the focus of the class. But I think, again, you should, it's a fascinating law, like Eruvin in general, this is Erev Techumen. It's a fascinating law. You should read that article, read it carefully. If you don't understand it, you can call me up. I'll try to explain to you. It's very difficult laws, but read it a couple times. You'll get it. So let's go to text number 3. So that's right. The text number 3 is actually the same thing I mentioned already, the law. the Rambam says, my mother is one who spends Shabbos in a barn, in a desert, or in a coral, in a cave, or in a similar type private domain, may walk through its entire space and may continue to the limits of a square extended 2,000 amma in every direction from that domain. That's his domain, this barn or this house. Or if you're living upstate New York or you're living in a mountain, your house is your domain. You're allowed to walk 2,000 feet from out of your door. That's it, not from out of your door. 2,000 amas, 3,158 feet from your door. You got the law. That's the law. Similarly, one who spends Shabbos in an open valley. Let's say you don't have a house. You're camping. You're driving by car. You pull over the road on Shabbos, and you celebrate the Shabbos in a camping, in a VR, whatever, a trailer. That's it. Where that is, 3,000 feet either direction. Take a walk, but you make sure to know where that 3,158 feet is. Because if you take one step out of that, done a prohibition. One who is walking in an open valley and does not know how far his Shabbos range extends may take 2,000 ordinary steps. So that's basically if you don't know what 2,000 feet is, you don't have a compass, it's 2,000. Imagine 2,000 ordinary steps. This is his Shabbos range. So if you don't have the capability of knowing the amount, 2,000 steps. Start counting your steps as you're walking. This is all in this week's Parsha, my friends. This is mentioned in this Parsha. That's what God says in text number 4, Rashi. So that's what Rashi brings on the Rashi, text number 4. No man shall leave his place. These are the 2,000 amma on Shabbos range. But this is not explicit Shabbos range. Rather, it's a rabbinical, and so Rashi says it openly, that this is a rabbinical enactment. This verse was primarily intended to reprimand the gathering of the man. So the Rambam says it's a Torah obligation. Rashi disagrees with him. And most commentators hold it with like Rashi, that it's not a Torah obligation, it's a rabbinic obligation. But it doesn't make a difference to us if it's a rabbinic obligation, a Torah obligation. Doesn't make a difference to us. We follow a rabbinical law, we follow Torah law. It's both the same thing. It has no difference to us, their argument. So their argument is academic to us. Has nothing to do with us if it's rabbinical or Torah. So the question to us is, why would the Torah have such a law? As I mentioned, you go to text number 5, the Maimonides says the Torah tells us to cease during Shabbos, not to do work on Shabbos. We know that. That's openly in the Torah. This means that one must cease even for activities that are not included in the categories of forbidden labors. The Torah left the definition of the scope of this commandment to the sages who forbade many activities under the rubric of Shavut, Tishbais. What is the meaning of Tishbais? Which means to cease, stop doing work, stop. Some activities are forbidden because they resemble the forbidden labors, while other activities are forbidden lest they lead one to commit a forbidden labor. And this is most, like I mentioned, muktzah. So the rabbis, like milk and meat, milk and chicken, that's a rabbinical prohibition. Milk and chicken, because the rabbi said if you can eat milk and chicken together, you might eat milk and meat together. But really, the Torah prohibits milk and meat And the rabbis prohibited milk and chicken. So why? Not because they were against chickens, because they felt that most people, chicken is meat. They consider, you ask, I'm going to eat meat is chicken. So therefore, if you can allow them to eat milk and chicken together, they'll come, God forbid, to eat milk and meat together. Milk and actual meat together. Okay, that makes sense. But what is Tchum Shabbos? What was the prohibition of Tchum Shabbos? What were the rabbis worried about? If you're going to say it's a rabbinical law, what was the rabbis worried about? You walking, going out of your domain going out of your domain on Shabbos. What were the rabbis so worried about going out of your domain on Shabbos? No, anybody want to? So therefore, we have to learn a little. Therefore, here, this is the class, and this is a very interesting concept that Rebbe explains. That from the rabbis' enactment, we actually learn about the whole Shabbos in general. The rabbis did want to give us a mitzvah of Tchum Shabbos. Tchum means a boundary on Shabbos, so that we would actually learn the entire concept of Shabbos. Because this is a very practical concept to walk on Shabbos, to take a walk on Shabbos. Why not? Shabbos is about pleasure. Shabbos is a concept of delight. Why wouldn't you take a walk on Shabbos? So the rabbis wanted that we should, in a very basic concept, we would learn something very deep about Shabbos in general. Because Shabbos in general is about, really, the essence of Shabbos is about boundaries. It's about domains. It's about transformation, change. The concept of change. Therefore, you'll understand that all the laws of Shabbos, basically the common denominator, the thread that goes through them, all is about the concept of change. The Eibishter wanted, God wanted that the Jewish people would be in one domain on Shabbos, and they would not go to another domain. I don't only mean domain in the physical domain, I mean in any malacha. So God didn't want that you would take a chicken that is not cooked on Shabbos and cook it on Shabbos. Because that in essence is changing something that wasn't there before and making it a new now. You changed its domain. It came from a non-edible food, it became an edible food. God didn't want that you would fix something on Shabbos for the same reason. The concept of domain. If we understand the essence and the real the real spiritual side of what God wanted to accomplish on Shabbos, then we will understand all the laws of Shabbos and the beauty of Shabbos. So therefore, the rabbis wanted to influence a Jew and impress upon a Jew that he should have his private domain on Shabbos, wherever he might be, whether he's at home alone, whether he's in a mountain someplace. Where is your domain right now out of Shabbos? Where is your domain? And that should be your domain the entire 24 hours. Because the entire 24 hours is about the concept of the oneness of this domain. That's the whole concept of Shabbos. And if we comprehend that, we'll understand the beauty of what God wanted to accomplish to make the day of Shabbos holy. That the day of Shabbos needs to be the domain of holiness, or as we mentioned in the domains of public domain and private domain. God wanted a private domain on Shabbos. We shouldn't go from the private to the public. We shouldn't carry from the public to the private, unless you create that the public becomes a private. And that's what we created with the Eidiv. The public domain became a private. God felt that the sages felt 2,000 feet was part of your domain. Walking out of 2,000 feet was leaving that domain, leaving the private domain that you have established on the Friday, and now you're leaving it to another domain. And that is what the sages wanted to impress upon us, that we should acquire on Shabbos a private, holy oneness on this day for 24 hours. Don't go from one domain to another domain. Somebody's asking you a question?
Rabbi,
Yes.
a question?
Yeah.
Yes, Rabbi, then
Sure,
why
yes.
did they enlarge the domain? What they want to do, fool Hashem and say, okay, we'll make an Erev, we'll make it bigger,
No, because you're actually making it a private domain.
but
It's not fooling anybody. Your house is a private domain. It's a private domain.
yes,
So too, whatever in this wall, like the Torah says, a walled city. The
Yes.
Torah says a walled city is a private, is like a one domain. It's a private
Okay.
domain. We're just making it a walled city. It's not fooling anybody. A
But then
native is a technical thing. And also, when we made a native, we had to go to the city and explain them this concept. We had to go to the county commissioners, to us it was the county commissioners of the city, to tell them exactly what we're doing. We're not tricking anybody. And we have to actually give him something to acquire it as a private domain. So we bought the city for $1. So we in essence acquired the city, that it becomes a private domain. Now there's some situation you cannot do that. There are certain technicalities that you might not be able to acquire a private domain. For example, you can't acquire 95 to be a private domain. So that's where the Eidiv has to be, or the turnpike, to be a private domain. You can't do that. That's why the Eidivs over here are all on the two sides of the turnpikes or the two sides of the 95. Because the 95 and the turnpike cannot become a private domain. You can put up 25 strings and walls. It's not going to become a private domain because there's too much traffic going through this fairway. It's impossible to make it a private domain. But there are certain areas you can make it a private domain. We're just following Jewish law. We're not here trying to trick anybody. We're trying to just follow Jewish law. And in essence, the rabbis actually made it in a way that people should be able to follow Jewish law even better. So the Gemara says we should actually, if you stand up for the Torah, you should stand up for the rabbis. Thank God they figured out a way how to make it, not that they wanted to make it easier on Jews to keep the Shabbos. They wanted a Jew, and in the law, the rabbis didn't break the law as long as you followed the technicality. And I'm telling you, both of these areas are very technical. As long as you follow the technical way of doing it and you follow the law, you have accomplished that concept in Jewish law. Now you might say, I don't want to walk with it. I don't want to carry in the Seder. That's fine. Yeah, you don't have to carry in a native. You could say a lot of people make a native and they say still they're not going to carry. And that's wonderful. Nobody's obligated to start carrying in a native. Really, the truth is, a native is not made that, for example, a native, this is not this class, but a native is not made to suddenly start playing basketball and football and baseball in. It's made that you should be able to carry to shul or carry to a friend, be able to go to a friend's house, not to become make a joke out of it, and now it becomes you're going to start carrying everything in the Seder, and that's why some rabbis are against Seder for that reason.
Excuse
because
me.
not that they're against the technicality, but it's against the atmosphere of the Shabbos that sometimes it will turn into a fest, just basically desecrating the Shabbos. We're gonna act like it's a regular day.
Could you spell that word for me?
Which word?
It's Eidiv. What is the
Eruv.
word?
ERUV, Eruv.
EIUV.
E-R-U-V, Eruv.
Oh, okay, fine, great. Okay, thank you.
So here, so my man, Rabbi Chil, in text number 7, on page 56, it says, with respect to Shabbos boundaries, it appears that our sages didn't want a Jew to stroll about excessively on Shabbos, as one does during the weekday. Oh, I walk every day 5 miles. I'm going to walk on Shabbos. No, it's Shabbos. It's not Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's Shabbos. Just because you walk every day 5 miles doesn't mean you have to walk on Shabbos 5 miles. So it's not, oh, you know what? Every day I walk 5 miles. I walk 5 miles on Shabbos. That's not what the Chazal want. That's not what the Torah wanted. Today is Shabbos. Maybe you shouldn't walk 5 miles today, because today is Shabbos. And Shabbos is not a regular day. So every day you might walk 5 miles. Today is Shabbos. Today should be different. Today should be holy. So the Shabbos is chayil, is mundane. Shabbos is holy. So you have to think about it. Yeah, every day I walk 5 miles. What do I do on Shabbos?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
to
if
take
you're
a walk.
if you're within the Erev, you could walk
What?
you could walk
What?
5 miles in the Erev if you,
Correct. I'm not arguing with you at that point. But
right?
it shouldn't be because, again, it shouldn't be on Shabbos. It shouldn't be, oh, I'm walking 5 miles because I walk Sunday 5 miles, or because I walk Monday 5 miles, or because I walk Tuesday 5 miles. And maybe on Shabbos you walk 4 miles because it's Shabbos. I'm not telling you to walk. You're allowed to walk. In the Boca, you can walk 10 miles. But it's Shabbos. It's Shabbos. Shabbos needs to be different. In the halacha it says your speech should be different, your clothes should be different. You shouldn't wear the same clothes. You shouldn't have the same. You shouldn't eat the same food. You shouldn't walk the same walk. If it's proper to plug into the delight of Shabbos and engage in Torah study, that's really what Shabbos is made for. That's what the Shabbos is made. Don't walk. That's why Tchum is it's not a big walk, 3,000 feet. It's a very small walk. So therefore the rabbi said, that's why the rabbis, according to the Rambam, rabbi said to begin with, 2,000 was 12 mil, 7 miles. The rabbi said, no. We're going to shorten it. We're going to make it 2,000 amas. We're going to make it. But the point is, again, it's not the amount of walk. We're getting lost in the semantics and numbers. It's not the amount. It's the spirit behind the purpose of this walk. The sages wanted to create a spirit of Shabbos. And the spirit of Shabbos is you should walk less. So look how the Sefer Chinuch expresses it. You have to listen to it. You know, the truth is, most of us take Shabbos as laws, do's, and don'ts. But it's wrong. Shabbos is a holy day. It's a holy day because God made it holy, not because of us. So look at text number 8. The root idea of this commandment is to withdraw from our engagements. We should withdraw from our daily situations in honor of this day and affix in our souls the belief in the creation of the world, which is the string that draws the foundation of our faith. That we should remember for one day, God's asking, not asking for a week, one day each week, that the world was created in 6 separate days. On the 7th day, nothing was created. When everyone rests on one day each week, and someone asks why we rest, the answer is we rest because God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. It reinforces the true faith amongst us all. It's not to say, oh, today is a relaxing day. Today, God didn't work on this day. A Jew needs to say what it is. We're not just taking a break. It's not Sunday. It's not like a Sunday in the world. We need a break. No. Shabbos is a day that God stopped his work, and therefore we stopped to work. So really, the Rebbe, look at the Rebbe's words. And this is what the Rebbe expresses the beauty of the Shabbos. The idea behind the restriction against work on Shabbos is that by performing creative activities, we form a space in Shabbos that is devoid of holiness. We're bringing in something negative in the Shabbos. The Shabbos is a holy day, and now we're bringing work in this day. It's a holy day, and a Jew brings work in the day. Why would a Jew bring an unholy concept in a holy day? That's like mixing a public domain in a private domain. It's a private domain. So why would you bring a public domain in a private domain? Public domain doesn't only mean public Lions Road. Public domains means something that's not part of godliness. It's just public, it's general concept. Why would you bring a general aspect in a very private day? Imagine having a very intimate moment with your loved one, and now somebody comes in tries to talk about something that has nothing to do with the concept. Something worldly politics. It would kill the mood. We're having a very private moment. We're having a private conversation. Why are you bringing in this private conversation a public concept? Shabbos is a private moment. It's 24 hours where God says, I want to have an intimate relationship with a human being. I want this intimate relationship with humanity. I don't want to have outer issues coming in on this 24 hours. We'll talk about it after Shabbos. In this 24 hours, I don't want to talk about business. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about news. I want to have a private time with you. We'll talk about it Saturday night. We'll come together on Sunday. We'll talk about it. That is to say, our activity introduces something inappropriate, something impure. Here we're having a pure moment, and we're trying to bring in an impure situation. Why would you do that on Shabbos? Why would any Jew do that on Shabbos? We do that on Shabbos because we don't feel the beauty of Shabbos. We don't feel the holiness of Shabbos. We feel Shabbos is just a continuation of the week. But if we felt that Shabbos is holy, so therefore the Rebbe continues, 9b. The reason for the prohibition against walking beyond the Shabbos range is not that we introduce a weekday element into the Shabbos. Rather, is that we export the Shabbos into the realms of unholiness. So there's two ways. In essence, I gave you two Erev on Shabbos, where you bring the public into the private, or you bring the private into the public. And that's Tchum Shabbos, where I bring the private, something that is private, and I take it out of my private domain. That's also a negative thing to do. Why would I take a private thing, something that is private, something that is a private issue, something that is holy, something that is unique, something that is special, and I go out of the tchum with it. I go out of the boundary with it. That's the negative of Lashon Hara. That's one of the negatives of Lashon Hara. I'm taking somebody's private issue. I'm telling it to somebody else. I'm bringing it to another domain. It can be whether it's positive or negative in laws of Lashon Hara. I'm taking something that's private with this person and now bringing it to another domain. and maybe many domains. Why would I do that? Why would I take this private issue that this person did or didn't do and tell somebody else? It doesn't belong there. That's why in Jewish law, the person who says Lashon Hara and the person who hears it are both culpable. Why? Because if somebody comes to me with Lashon Hara, I say, what does it do with me? It's him. What does it do with me? It has nothing to do with me. You're bringing it to a domain. You're bringing it to another place where it doesn't belong. I'm not interested in it. I have no business in it. I have no purpose in it. So why would you bring it to me? So there can be two ways that Rebbe says you can abuse holiness, either by bringing something in it that it doesn't belong, or we're taking the thing and taking it to a place it doesn't belong. And the Chazal, and that's why these two mitzvahs, these two laws of Shabbos are Rabbanan, are rabbinical, because the rabbis wanted to teach us the essence of the Shabbos. That a Jew would realize the essence of Shabbos is holiness, is godly, which God is the concept of oneness, and you're taking something which is so pure and so holy, and either bringing into it something that doesn't belong to it, or taking it to some place where it doesn't belong. Keep it holy. Keep it special. Keep the Shabbos holy. Don't make it into a public concept. Don't abuse it. Rather, it's that we export the Shabbos in the realm of holiness. This is because within every Jew, even one who's boorish and completely ignorant, the radiance of the Shabbos is aglow. And when he steps beyond the Shabbos boundaries, he brings the holiness of Shabbos that's within us to the realm of unholiness. So why would you do that? Why would you do that on a Shabbos? But the truth is, this concept doesn't only have to with Shabbos, my friends. This concept of Shabbos and weekday is every day in our life. We have holy things that we are part of, and we have unholy things. Or in Chassidut, you have a body and you have a soul. Your body is mundane to your soul. You need to know how to unite the two together. Not to bring mundaneness into your soul, and not to bring holiness to places that it doesn't want to go. Not to bring your godliness, your godly soul to places that it doesn't want to go. So look how the Rebbe says that in text number 10a. So the Rebbe says this law goes that far. This is the teachings of the sages. When we introduce worldly thinking into our minds, the Shabbos element within us, our minds is a Shabbos element within us. A void and an emptiness is introduced that doesn't sense or feel godliness. If we would know and felt the truth that only God's blessing can make us wealthy, and that our efforts are merely a form of vessel for these blessings, we would not invest our brains into business by scheming, creative mechanisms, and tactics that are in any way ineffective, for only God's blessing can grant us success. On the contrary, becoming too engrossed in our many business affairs distract us from the Torah and serving God, which in turn prevents us from becoming proper vessels for the divine blessing. So the Rebbe says, I can take this a step further. Your godliness is your Shabbos is your brains, your seichel. My seichel is my godliness. The more I waste time on things that are unholy, the more unholiness I bring to my godliness, to my brain, which, to comparison to other things, to the world, to the physical side of me. It's like godly. It's Shabbos to the weekday situations of life. In essence, a Jewish person should focus more on spirituality than physicality. He has to go to work. He has to make a living. He has to be involved in the world because he has to. He has no choice to pay his bills. But he came to the world to use his seichel, to learn Torah, to make the world a better world, to bring godliness to the world, to masakin olam, to rectify the world. However you want to, but that's where you should think. That's what a person I should think about. That's what the brains, because that's Shabbos. My brains is Shabbos. My intellect is Shabbos. Why would I bring negative things to my intellect? So the Rebbe says I can look at that. I can go Tchum Shabbos. The laws of Erevin and Shabbos can be the laws of Erevin in my existence. I need to have a boundary of how much brain cells am I going to use for A and B and C? How much time I'm going to use? How much time I'm going to waste? I need to make boundaries. Just like on Shabbos is a boundary. A Jew needs to make a boundary in his own life. He needs to make a healthy boundary. He needs to know how far to go and how far not to go. How much he should get involved in something A or how much he shouldn't get involved. We need to all have boundaries in our life. And we learn this from the law of Shabbos.
But Rabbi,
Yes.
Hashem created us, right?
Yes.
And he knows what we're about.
Yes, he does.
And he made it very hard to feel his presence in this world. He's very hidden. Like,
Right.
We say Purim's coming, Hashem is hidden. He's not even mentioned in the Megillah.
Right.
It's a very hidden world. So it's much
Correct.
harder to feel that spirituality. We have to work so hard, especially now. I think it's harder. It's harder.
I agree.
I mean, it's easier because
nothing that is good is easy. Nothing that is good is easy. Everything that is good takes effort, takes time, takes concentration. Something that is good usually is easy, is usually a nefesh habahamis. The Alter Rebbe says, every person has a mitzvah that he has to do in life. And the question is, what is that mitzvah? If God would send me down to the world with a letter and say, this is your mitzvah, that would be an easy thing, right? So what is the mitzvah? How would I know what the mitzvah is? You know what the Alter Rebbe answers? It's usually the mitzvah you don't want to do. It's usually, we all struggle with something in life. We all struggle with certain things. That means that certain things means we're easy to give into, and there are certain things we won't give in. We'll blame it on our mothers, we'll blame it on our teachers, we'll blame it on our character, we'll blame it on everything, but we won't do it. That's the mitzvah. That is usually the mitzvah that God sent you down for. And that's the mitzvah you should do. That's the mitzvah you should do. And so then even if you did the mitzvah, but you might have done it begrudgingly. So you didn't do it ba'ava. So now you have to do the mitzvah ba'ava. You might have done the mitzvah ba'ava, but you didn't do it with kavanah. So do the mitzvah kavanah. There's a lot of levels in the mitzvah that you're struggling with, that you should work on doing.
So if, let's say, learning Hebrew is super hard for you, you're saying that you'll get a lot of light, a lot of spiritual light from learning Hebrew?
Break yourself. Work harder. Work harder. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. You gotta make that boundary. You can't let your Yetzer Hara talk you in to things you shouldn't allow to talk you into. We're all, my dear friend, We're all in the same boat. You know, the Alter Rebbe once said, if two, I forgot which day it was, the Rebbe writes, I think in the name of the Alter Rebbe, that two Jews meet, it's one Yetzer Hara against two Yetzer Tovs. That's why it's always good to have with you a second Jew. Why? Because our Yetzer Hara it's all the same. It's just different concepts. We all have the same Yetzer Hara. I have a Yetzer Hara for A, you have B, and he has C, and he has D. We all have the same hang-ups and shtusim v'avolim, and these nadashe talked into own things that we have talked ourselves into. And we have decided that this is the way it is. We have decided that. And it's very difficult for us to undecide it. Because, like you said, we decided. God is not we don't learn more. Learn chassidus. Learn, you'll get it. I don't want to learn. I just want God to come and reveal himself. I just want it the easy way. Why should I go and learn? Why should I go? Make it the easy way. There's no easy way. There's no easy way in this concept. Alter Rebbe said, right in Tanya, it's the long but short way. It's a long but short way. It's because seichel is a long way. It's a long way. It takes time. It takes time. It's not something that happens automatically. It takes time. You know, in the laws of Shabbos, there's 39 malachos. There's 39 prohibitions on Shabbos. 11 of them are in the making of bread. Imagine the making of bread, the staple of a human being's life. There's 11 processes in making of bread. Right? We take you go to Roma, you buy a loaf of bread. There's 11 things that need to be done to make this piece of bread. That's why when we make it, that's why the bracha, the big bracha that we say is the bichas when you eat bread. Because you know what? You know, there's 11 halachas on Shabbos for this piece of bread. To make this piece of bread. 11 hilchos Shabbos on a piece of bread. That's how difficult it is to come out with a piece of bread. That's how much effort it takes to make a piece of bread. If it takes 11 things to do bread, how much did it take to learn a pasuk chumash? It takes 11 different things, and how many people and how much went in to bring out this, take from this kernel to bring it to win it and throw it and plant it, bake it. How much went into this? How much should it take to learn a pasuk chumash? How hard should you work on learning a pasuk chumash? How hard should I work on learning a pasuk chumash? I should work as hard as it takes that one piece of bread. And then I'll know the pasuk. So the Rebbe continues, 10b. Even if we don't allow our businesses concerns to invade our inner Shabbos, we must remember that there's yet another restriction. The restriction against venturing beyond the boundary. That is to say that during Shabbos moments, times reserved for Torah mitzvahs, even the outer aspects of our being, such as our hand and our feet, may not leave the boundaries to do something unrelated to Torah and mitzvahs. For the Torah must permeate our entire body, not just our minds. I shouldn't just think, oh, my mind is involved in Shabbos, my hands can be busy someplace else. No, I need that's going out of the tchum of Shabbos. That's taking my hands and going out of the boundary of Shabbos. There's a very famous story in the Gemara about Chum Shabbos. And that's how we're going to end the class today. Wow, it's late already. It's a very famous story of Rav Meir and Rabbi Elisha ben Avuya. Rav Meir, Rabbi Elisha ben Avuya. Rabbi Elisha ben Avuya was the teacher of Rav Meir, actually, and ultimately became a heretic. But Rav Meir was the first Chabad rabbi, and he would not let this guy go. He wouldn't let his student, he wouldn't let his teacher go. And he chased after him and chased after him and chased after him. And the Gemara says that they would walk and talk and learning. Rabbi Elisha Avur was a very smart person. They would walk and talk and learning even on Shabbos. And Amei would walk, and Elisha Avuya would ride a horse. Imagine breaking the Shabbos, riding a horse on Shabbos. That's prohibited on Shabbos. Amei didn't care that he was riding the horse on Shabbos. He walked right next to him, and they would talk and learning. And the Gemara tells a story at text number 11. One Shabbos, Amei was sitting in his house in Tiberias and teaching. When his teacher Elisha ben Avuya passed the study house on the horseback, he's riding a horse. They came and told Amei, your teacher's outside. Imagine, he's giving a shir in the Beis Medrash. His teacher rolls up with, in his Honda, whatever, in his horse. So Amei leaves the study hall, and he takes a walk with his teacher. His teacher's on the horse. They walk together for a while, talking in Torah. Elisha says to Meir, my friend, I counted the steps of the horse. You cannot go any further. Meir, this is as far as you can go. We have reached the outer limits of Shabbos range. You cannot go any further, Meir. You got to go back. Meir says, how do you know? Elisha says, I've been counting my horse steps, and I know they were traveled 2,000 amas. I counted how many trots of my horse, and we are now 2,000 amas. So Amei said to his teacher, you have so much wisdom, why don't you turn back? Why are you going out of the Tchum? You're worried about me going out of Tchum. Why are you, Elisha, going out of the boundary? You're such a great person, such a holy person. Why are you traveling out of the boundary on Shabbos? The Gemara says ultimately, Elisha ben Avuya did tshuva, repented. Because Rameir didn't let him go. Didn't want to let him go, that to forget him and give up on him. And because of that, because of his statement to Rameir, Rameir's statement to him says, why are you going out of the boundary of Shabbos? You're worried about my boundaries when you have gone out of your boundaries. Just like I shouldn't go out of my boundaries, you shouldn't go out of your boundaries. You know that you shouldn't go out of your boundaries. And ultimately, that brought back Elisha ben Avuya. The Rebbe, in essence, says we should all know our boundaries. We should know our boundaries, physical boundaries, and we should know our spiritual boundaries. We shouldn't bring one into the other unless we know how to mix the two together. But you shouldn't bring the mundaneness into the holiness. And sometimes you shouldn't bring the holiness into the mundaneness unless the holiness can transform the mundaneness. And that's why there's a way of making Tchum Shabbos. And that's why the rabbis made a way that on Shabbos to be able to take the public and make it a private, to be able to extend the boundary by making a aid of Tchumim, to making this aid of this food, or establishing your boundary in a different place. So in essence, by establishing your boundary in a different place creates your bigger boundary. So we have to establish your boundaries before your boundary. The law is you need to establish your Eruv before the boundary, not after the boundary. Establish before your boundary. There you establish your Eruv, like a couple of feet before your boundary, and that creates another 900, 300, 3,000 feet extra from the inside of the boundary that you are in, that you're allowed. So that it continues another 2,000 amas. I ask you again to go and read that article. You'll learn a wonderful law of Shabbos. If you have any questions, you may ask me. Emir Shem, just to tomorrow night at 7:00 we're having a seder, not a Pesach seder, a Tu B'Shvat seder. Tomorrow night is Tu B'Shvat. I hope you got the Tu B'Shvat box. If you didn't, you still can come on and learn something and eat your fruit that you have in the house. But if you're getting the box, hopefully you'll pick it up tomorrow. I don't know what time the pickup is. You'll pick it up tomorrow and you'll do it together on Zoom at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. I just want to mention, I just want to remind everybody, the next Thursday starts the unbelievable class that's called Journey of the Soul. I hope you got this book. Journey of the Soul. This is going to be a journey. I gave this class they modified the class. We gave this class many, many years ago. People still don't stop talking about this class from many, many years ago. I've given this class, even though I gave this class many times to different groups. You're really going to enjoy this class. It's a very powerful class, a journey of the soul, from here to the upper worlds. According to Kabbalah, according to Chassidus, it's something you're not going to want to miss. So hopefully you're getting the book. Please order the book. Thank you, Moshe. You always tell me it's awesome as usual. I really appreciate it. I hope this is a sikha of the Rebbe. So I hope I gave over the sikha the best way I could give it over.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a wonderful night, everybody. If I don't see you tomorrow night, also chitas every day. You can come at 8 a.m. in Chumash and Tanya. So learning never ends, my dear friends. It was great to learn with you. If not, I'll see you next Tuesday night. The portion of Yisrael, portion of the giving of the Torah. Wow. Have a wonderful. This week is Shabbos Shira. It's the Shabbos of song. Oz Yasher Moshe. It's the Shabbos of the singing of the song of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a beautiful Shabbos. I wish you all a wonderful end of the week and a wonderful Shabbos. And everything, all God's desire. Tu B'Shvat. Have a wonderful New Year for trees. What else can I wish you? Only good things. Happiness, joy, health. Whatever God desires for you.
Ditto. Back to
Thank
you,
you, Rabbi.
God bless
Thank
you all.
you.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank
Have
you.
a great night. Thank you.